And voters in 6 states are heading to the polls tomorrow, including Arizona, where election deniers, backed by Donald Trump, are running in key primary races. And Republican House Speaker Rusty Bowers could lose his race for standing up to Trump and testifying to the January 6th committee. In Missouri, there's a heated 3-way primary on the Republican side to succeed Senator Roy Blunt. And Kansas is going to be the first state since the Supreme Court ruling overturning Roe v. Wade to vote tomorrow on whether to keep abortion rights in the state constitution or open the door to a complete ban, potentially, from the conservative state legislature there. So joining us now is NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard in Phoenix and NBC News Washington correspondent Yamiche Alcindor in Washington, Missouri. Vaughn, a number of critical races to watch in Arizona, a major test of Trump's grip on the Republican Party, including, of course, that important interview you did with Rusty Bowers. Talk to us about it.
Right. We're looking at the reality, Andrea, that there could be a clean sweep of victories for Trump-endorsed candidates here in the state of Arizona. And this is the first major primary coming out of these public January 6 hearings. There are a lot of national implications that we could take away from several of these races. You know, one of them is the governor's race. You have these two political newcomers. You've got Kari Lake, who is Trump-endorsed. You got Karen Taylor Robson, who is Mike Pence-endorsed. But then you've also got Mark Finchem, who's running for Secretary of State, who's called for the decertification of the 2020 election. You've got Abe Hamadeh, who's running for Attorney General with Trump's endorsement. He's also called for the decertification of the 2020 election. Of course, Blake Masters for the U.S. Senate with Trump's endorsement is atop the polls here. But the other race there is the very, very local one, that legislative race. Rusty Bowers, after publicly testifying in front of the January 6th committee, after serving in public office for 16 years, the Mormon House Speaker from the East Valley of Mesa, Arizona, he could potentially lose his primary to a Trump-endorsed challenger. I was able to catch up with him over the weekend and ask that question of him. What will he tell us on Tuesday night? If he doesn't pull off a win, take a listen. If you do not win on Tuesday, why will you not have won?
Probably because I stood up. And when they asked me to tell the truth, I told the truth. But the fact that I would break ranks and somehow find what the former president did was unacceptable, that's like I broke some type of taboo. And I did break a taboo, and it's kind of a cultic thing.
Andrea, these last weeks, we have had the conversations about Republican voters' takeaway from the January 6th public hearings. Well, this is their opportunity to make their voices heard. It's going to be Republican voters making their decisions in these primaries tomorrow. Andrea?
And we know how key Arizona was to the decision-making in the 2020 election for Donald Trump. Yamiche, in Missouri, Donald Trump says he's going to make an endorsement today in that heated 3-way race to succeed retiring Senator Roy Blunt. What are voters telling you?
Well, Andrea, you got at the big news that just happened in the last few minutes, which is that former President Trump says he will be making an endorsement in this crowded GOP primary race. Now, I should tell people that there are a lot of names to think about in this race, a lot of people running, but it's really coming down to 2 Erics and a Vicky. The first Eric is Eric Schmitt. He is he is the Missouri Attorney General, because certainly Eric's there. He's the Missouri Attorney General. He was a moderate Republican, I was told, but someone who has tacked to the right, who has become more and more conservative, and someone who has now come out and said that he would not support Senator Mitch McConnell to become the Senate Majority Leader if he were to win and the Republicans were to win back the Senate. So that's the first Eric. I'm going to be hopefully talking to him in the last few minutes. Then you have Eric Greitens. He is someone who is the former embattled governor of the state of Missouri. He resigned in disgrace about 18 months after he was inaugurated. He is accused of a number of things, including domestic abuse, sexual abuse, as well as he is, I'm being told, alienated from the Republican Party. Now, the endorsement, in talking to people, sounds like it might go to the Eric Greitens, the second Eric, the one who is embattled. But then there's also Vicky Hartzler. We know that she is not going to get the endorsement because former President Trump has been very clear that he was not going to endorse her. He says she doesn't have what it takes to be the next senator from Missouri. So a lot there. We should also play for folks here some sound of what voters have been telling us. So take a listen to what one woman said here in Washington, Missouri, just a few minutes ago.
I've been watching like some of the advertisements and emails and stuff like that I've been getting on my social media, and they're all a hot mess. I mean, there's something wrong with every single Republican that's running. And I just think we need to find people with a little more integrity to represent the Republican side.
What do you make of the fact that former President Trump is looming so large in this race? He hasn't endorsed yet, though.
That man should have been gone a long time ago.
So that was a Democratic voter saying that everyone is a hot mess on the Republican side. But I should also tell you, I talked to a young Republican voter. She's undecided, but she told me that she's very, very alarmed that former President Trump has become, in her words, something like a, quote, god to a lot of Republicans in this area, in this state, because, of course, he is wildly popular. That being said, he is the person who everyone now in the state is looking to see who he will endorse in this race. It will be very, very telling once he decides who to run. We should know that Eric Greitens, the embattled former governor, he already has the support of Donald Trump Jr., but it is only Donald Trump Jr. so far, Andrea.
And very briefly, Yamiche, just across the border in Kansas, the state is going to vote on abortion. It's the first statewide vote on whether abortion should be state-determined legal, constitutional, or not, since Roe v. Wade was overturned. So this is a very big test right there in Kansas. We don't know which way this is going to go.
It's certainly a big test. And of course, we have our Dasha Burns there covering that constitutional amendment, the first one that is going to be on the ballot. It is really dividing a lot of people in that state. And I should tell you, I've been hearing from people that I've been talking to here in Missouri that really Roe and abortion is top of mind for a lot of people. That young Republican woman that I talked to just a few minutes ago, she's pro-choice. She said she loves the Republican Party, likes what they've been doing. She said she really thinks that they work for middle-class voters. But she says a young woman, she's 19 years old, she's really alarmed at the idea that women and their personal health choices can be taken out of their hands. So she wants the Republican Party to try to really ease on that and really try to change their stance on the issue of abortion, Andrea.
Vaughn Hilliard and Yamiche Alcindor on the pulse of the voters in 2 key states. Thank you. Or 3 key states to Yamiche. Thank you.